this is an iHeart podcast.
Taking over the helm of NBC Nightly News, a 75-year-old broadcast, it's a great responsibility.
Good evening. I'm Tom Yamas.
You have to go out there to bring people at home closer to the story.
Wildfires continue to be a threat.
With that massive hurricane comes the massive response.
The best reporters in our business know how to listen. And when you listen, you get the truth.
For NBC News, I'm Tom Yamas.
That's what we do every night.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas. Evenings on NBC.
Wells Fargo is proud of the important role they play for their customers, their communities, and the U.S. economy, covering more rural markets than many large banks and nearly 30% of branches in low or moderate income census tracts. Also proudly serving more than 10% of small businesses nationwide. Wells Fargo, the bank of doing. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/say-do. Wells Fargo Bank N.A., member FDIC.
Hello, from Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month we're talking about outsiders, women who marched to the beat of their own drum and rejected stereotypes about what women should be. They're aesthetic pioneers, norm benders, and often one of the only women in their field. Today we're traveling back in time to 150 years ago in a remote corner of Persia. On this day, there's a large public gathering. Men walk to and fro, talking amongst themselves, a low rumble filling the room. But suddenly, amidst the cacophony of male voices, a female face shines through, and the noise fades as everyone is shocked into silence. For the first time, she stands before them, a woman unveiled. Let's talk about Táhirih. Táhirih was born Fatima Baraghani in Iran sometime between 1814 and 1819. She was raised in a prominent clerical family. From a young age, she demonstrated a keen intellect and a penchant for learning. At just 7 months old, she was already able to talk. Her father, recognizing her potential, provided her with an education uncommon for women of her era. She delved into poetry and philosophy, eventually earning a diploma in theology, a rare feat for a woman at the time. But because Fatima was a woman, she was forced to study under the supervision of her father, and eventually to get married to a cousin. But Táhirih longed for more. She divorced her husband, which was virtually unheard of at the time. Fatima's thirst for knowledge led her to correspond with a religious reformer known as the Báb. Fatima quickly became one of the first converts to the Báb's new religious ideology, which officially took hold in 1844, and proclaimed a new interpretation of Shia Islam. The followers, called Bábís, believed that a new era of divine guidance had begun. They saw the Báb as a manifestation of God, one who had come to renew religion and prepare humanity for the appearance of a greater prophet. They rejected rigid interpretations of Islamic law and embraced principles of spiritual equality, justice, and unity. Among the most controversial of their beliefs was the notion that men and women were equal in the eyes of God, a teaching Fatima championed fervently. Drawn to the cause, Fatima traveled as far as Iraq to teach classes, spreading the word of the Báb. As support grew, she began challenging religious authorities to public debates and would push people to question their beliefs. In a poem from the time, she pointedly wrote, "No mosque hawks holiness it does not know. No sham, no pious fraud, no priest's commands. The turban's not cut to its root below. No more conjurations, no spell, no ghosts. Good riddance, we are done with folly's show." In the summer of 1848, Fatima traveled to another Iranian village where a gathering of 81 prominent Bábí leaders was taking place. She was the only woman present. The conference was tense from the start. Many of the Bábís were unsure how far the new teachings should diverge from Sharia law. Fatima, however, came prepared not only to discuss doctrine, but also to make a statement. On one of the final days of the conference, she did the unthinkable and appeared before her male counterparts without her veil. Gasps erupted. At that time, it was considered by some a sin to even look at the shadow of a woman. Reportedly, one man was so shocked that he slit his own throat, but Fatima stood firm. She declared that the laws of the past had ended, that a new age had begun, that the Báb's revelation was not just a reform of Islam, it was a total break from it. This was a new religion, and with it, a new role for women was dawning. Fatima's act was revolutionary. It signaled the beginning of a true break from Islam. It was at that time she was given the name Táhirih, meaning the Pure One. The moniker was given to her by the man who would later found the Baha'i faith. The title recognized her spiritual purity and her bravery. Later, Táhirih would reflect that day in her poetry. Break the chains, the dawn is near. The veil is dust, the path is clear. Let tyrants rage, let priests condemn. The truth has come, make way for them. 4 years later, in the late summer of 1852, Táhirih was executed for her continued dedication to her faith. She was held under house arrest for weeks, offered escape if she renounced her beliefs. She refused. Though her death was meant to silence her, it made her a martyr. At the end of her life, she allegedly proclaimed, "You can kill me as soon as you like, but you'll never stop the emancipation of women." Táhirih is remembered not just as a poet and theologian, but as one of the first women in Iran to openly demand equality. In the decades that followed, her name became a rallying cry for women's rights activists in the region. Today, she's honored by the Baha'i community and by scholars of religion and feminism worldwide. All month, we're talking about outsiders. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. Talk to you tomorrow.
From iHeart Podcast. Before social media, before cable news, there was Alan Berg.
He was the first and the original shock jock.
That scratchy, irreverent kind of way of talking to people and telling them that you're an idiot and I'm going to hang up on you.
This is Live Wire, the loud life and shocking murder of Alan Berg.
And he pointed to the Denver phone book and said, well, there are probably 2 million suspects.
Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Jake Hanrahan, journalist and documentary filmmaker. Away Days is my new project, reporting on countercultures on the fringes of society all across the world. Live from the underground, you'll discover no-rules fighting, Japanese street racing, Brazilian favela life, and much more. All real, completely uncensored. Listen to the Away Days podcast, reporting from the underbelly, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast.